Welcome to Below the 49th, a perspective on my neighbor to the south, below the 49th. I'm Michael A. Charbon. Hey, and a special welcome to our listeners on Google Podcasts and other podcast platforms. Welcome. Today's title, Afghan Snakes and Seeds. Three major empires tried to tame Afghanistan: the British in the 19th century, Russia's 10 years of failure, and the United States for 20 long years. From 1996 to 2001, the brutal Taliban ruled the land. But after 9/11, the U.S. invaded and crushed the regime and became occupiers. In 2014, the UN forewarned the world about the radical Islamic State of Khorasan province. The UN described Afghanistan as a narco-state, as America spent $8.9 billion on a 15-year anti-narcotics war on Afghan poppies. Since 2001, U.S. taxpayers paid over $2 trillion, nation-building a democracy in a third-world country ruled by tribes. The reasoning to occupy Afghanistan was to destroy a global radical Islamist base that was threatening America, hunt down bin Laden for 9/11, and establish a democracy. After 20 years, no one disputes that the U.S. had to get out of Afghanistan. It was supposed to be a departure with class and respect, staged in steps so as to leave the nation in as close a shape as what was sacrificed for. What occurred was not that plan. Literally, the U.S. turned over Afghanistan to a terrorist organization, better armed than any other criminal business in the world. So what was the cost? In the fleeting last days, 13 Blue Star families sadly became Gold Star families. Total American lives lost over the 20 years, over 2,400 brave and dear souls. American casualties, over 20,000. All brave volunteers who answered the call of their nation. So it was called the largest non-combative evacuation of 120,000 people. But sadly, it was ill-planned, chaotic, a catastrophic blunder, and viewed by many as a retreat. Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana called it a circus parade of bad decisions. You can put perfume on a pig, but it still stinks. America's departure for Kabul was compared to the images of April 30th, 1975, as the last helicopter left Saigon in South Vietnam, which basically signaled America's departure from the Vietnam War. In leaving Afghanistan, it was thought the Afghan army would fight and defend their country. $82.9 billion was invested into Afghan security forces, over $3 billion just in 2021, this year alone. The reality, without American air support and supremacy and the U.S. paycheck to the soldiers, as the U.S. left, so did the Afghan military will. How could the mightiest and greatest army in the world so wrongly evaluate the Taliban army's reaction? And what did they leave behind? Well, the Times of London reports over 22,000 Humvees, 42,000 pickup trucks, over 700 armored personnel carriers, 100 or so assorted planes, 4 C-130 transports, and 350 combat helicopters. Let's hope the Army left them all inoperable, and from pictures that we've seen, many of them are. And for good measure, put a little sugar in the gas tanks of all the rest. But the most dangerous spoils was $90 billion, that's B for billion, in arms, ammunition, and night vision equipment. America owned the night. Night vision was a crucial component. They left that stuff. Over 358,000 assault rifles, 126,000 handguns, and 64,000 machine guns. Social media showed, these terrorists clad in U.S. fatigues and all geared up with the guns, which just adds salt to an open wound. So now in 2021, 38 million people live in a country called the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, ruled by the Taliban snakes, a draconian, oppressive regime of greasy, ragtag, sandaled terrorists who impose a theocracy where religious rulers, in the name of their God, impose a fanatical core fundamentalist ideology called Sharia law. As 5,000 were released from Afghan prisons, they now go house to house in execution squads, searching for sympathizers and those who worked for the Americans. They subjugate females and enforce their will by indiscriminate murders and beheadings. It truly is medieval times that have returned to Afghanistan. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North stated, the Taliban equals Al-Qaeda equals ISIS equals the Haqqani network, which is a Sunni Islamist extremist militant group, the top Afghan warlord group in Afghanistan. Another problem, ready for this, is geopolitical. Europe has soured on America, steeped in disbelief and feelings of betrayal from its ally. The BBC called it a watershed moment. European newspaper headlines read, chaos in desperate Kabul, race to escape Kabul carnage, 20-year effort unravels in days. So consider, how will those sentiments influence other global radical hotspots like Yemen's al-Shabaab, Africa, or Southeast Asia? What about Taiwan's defense from a crouching China? Or South Korea from a massive North Korean army? Will America stand? Will they stay and defend those in the future they touch today? Of course they will. But as of June 2021, U.S. World Active Duty Soldiers has over 35,000 in Germany, 12,000 in Italy, in Japan just under 54,000, in South Korea just over 26,000 troops. That's called peace through strength, and that's a very strong message. Forbes estimated Afghanistan's $6 billion in 2018 topped the list of 172 countries that were receiving U.S. foreign aid. Today, as America is gone, Washington froze $9.5 billion in Afghanistan reserves and international monetary funds, which resulted in Afghani ATMs and banks depleted of cash, markets short of crucial flour and oil, pharmacies running scarce, and no one's spending any money because they don't got any. A combined recipe for internal revolt. But who are the other snakes interested in aiding the Taliban? Ready for this? Here's an interesting fact. Afghanistan has the world's largest deposits of lithium. You know, that precious mineral that's essential for batteries and computer components? Guess who? Well, China's in Afghanistan like a dirty shirt, with lots of money. And folks, be well assured, a disciplined, well thought out and executed endgame. Yeah. As the Taliban destroy cell towers and outlaws music, they're using geofencing technology to pinpoint cellular callers delivering social media reports back to the world. This while running biometric tracking identification devices using fingerprints and retina ID left by the U.S. to identify people. You know, those services are delivered by highly paid Russians. Yeah, the Russians in country. Goodness. I believe the requiem for the fallen and the embarrassment of the current administration will all be delivered in 2022 and 2024. Let's hope. Now let's move on. So what are the seeds of optimism and hope that were left? Well, consider youth born in Afghanistan under America's control are now about 20 years old. They grew up with cell phones, music, respect for women, democracy, and a taste of what freedom is. 150,000 women entered elected office, and females reported the news on TV regularly. Those seeds are hard to repress. America spent $94.8 million on the American University in Kabul. Tragically, the Taliban is dismantling that brick and mortar as we speak, but they will never destroy the knowledge and the feeling of what freedom was. For Afghani seeds to fully germinate will take some time. I believe that one day the people of Afghanistan will seize their country back, because it is that hope and those seeds that so many pay the ultimate sacrifice for. Finally, please click and share, and if you do so, kindly subscribe. For those listening to the audio version, remember to subscribe on Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you leave a comment, I try to answer everyone. I thank you for those considerations, and until next time, God bless and stay safe. I'm Michael A. Charbon for Below the 49.